Lisa Morgan sat in the back row of the combat tactics classroom and tried to make herself invisible. This was not difficult because nobody ever looked at her anyway. She was just another human cadet at the Galactic Military Academy on Station 7, and she preferred it that way. The year was 2847, and humans had been part of the Interstellar Coalition for nearly 2 centuries. The Academy trained soldiers from dozens of species to work together and defend Coalition space. It was considered a great honor to study here, but Lisa did not act like someone who felt honored. She acted like someone who wanted to disappear. Commander Al stood at the front of the room, his tall reptilian body casting a long shadow across the holographic displays. He was a species known for their military discipline and harsh judgments. His yellow eyes scanned the classroom as he spoke about flanking maneuvers and tactical positioning. Lisa took notes quietly. Her handwriting was neat but unremarkable. Her uniform was clean but plain. Everything about her seemed designed to avoid attention. A human cadet named Danny Cole sat 2 rows ahead of her. He turned around and gave her a friendly smile. Lisa nodded politely but did not smile back. Danny had been trying to befriend her for weeks now, but she always found reasons to leave conversations early. The combat simulation began after the lecture. Cadets were divided into teams and sent into a virtual battlefield to test their skills. Lisa was assigned to a squad with 3 alien cadets and 1 other human. The simulation did not go well for Lisa. She moved slowly. She missed shots that should have been easy. She made decisions that seemed confused and uncertain. When the exercise ended, her team had lost badly, and most of the blame fell on her shoulders. Commander Al reviewed the results in front of everyone. He pulled up the performance data and shook his head slowly. "Cadet Morgan," he said, "your reaction time was among the slowest in the class. Your tactical decisions showed no creativity or initiative. I must ask myself why the Coalition continues to accept humans who perform at this level." Lisa kept her eyes on the floor and said nothing. Some of the alien cadets exchanged glances that suggested agreement with the commander. A few humans looked embarrassed on her behalf. Danny wanted to speak up in her defense, but he did not know what to say. He had never seen Lisa do anything impressive. She was always just average or below average in everything. After class, Danny caught up with Lisa in the corridor. He walked beside her as she headed toward the dormitory section of the station. "Hey," he said, "do not let Al get to you. He is tough on everyone, especially humans. I think he enjoys making us look bad." Lisa shrugged. "He is not wrong. I did perform poorly." Danny frowned. "But you do not seem upset about it. Most people would be frustrated or angry. You just seem like you expected it." Lisa stopped walking and looked at him directly for the first time. Her eyes were calm and steady, without any of the shame or embarrassment he expected to see. "Some things are not worth getting upset about," she said. "There are bigger problems in the universe than a bad simulation score." Before Danny could ask what she meant, Lisa turned and walked away. She disappeared around a corner, and Danny stood alone in the corridor, wondering what secrets she might be hiding. In the dormitory, Lisa sat on her bed and stared at the wall. Her room was small and simple, with no personal decorations or photographs. She had learned long ago not to carry too many pieces of her past with her. A notification appeared on her data pad. It was an announcement from the Academy administration about an upcoming special lecture. All cadets were required to attend a presentation on historical military tactics. The subject would be the Siege of Prime, one of the most famous battles in recent Coalition history. Lisa read the announcement 3 times. Her hands began to shake slightly. She set the data pad down and closed her eyes, trying to control her breathing. Prime, she had hoped never to hear that name again. The next morning, the entire academy gathered in the main lecture hall. Hundreds of cadets from dozens of species filled the seats, creating a rainbow of different skin colors and body shapes. Instructors stood along the walls, ready to provide commentary on the historical footage. Commander Al addressed the crowd from the central platform. "Today," he said, "we will study one of the most important defensive actions in the past decade. The Siege of Prime occurred 7 years ago, when raiders attacked a coalition medical station. The defenders were outnumbered 10 to 1, but they held their position for 18 hours until reinforcements arrived." Lisa sat in the far back corner of the hall, her face pale and her hands gripped tightly together in her lap. The top-ranked human cadet in the academy sat near the front with perfect posture and eager attention. Danny was somewhere in the middle, already interested in the upcoming presentation. The medical station housed over 1,000 patients. Commander Al continued, including a ward full of children who were recovering from a plague outbreak. They wanted to destroy the station completely as a message to the coalition. What happened instead became a lesson in human determination that many species still study today. A cadet near Danny shifted uncomfortably in his seat. They were a gentle species with soft blue skin and large dark eyes. They were not warriors by nature, and the memory of almost losing an entire generation of children was still painful for their people. The holographic display activated, filling the center of the hall with images from 7 years ago. The medical station appeared first, a large circular structure floating in space near a blue gas giant. Then the warships arrived, dark and angular and terrifying. Lisa watched the footage begin and felt her heart pounding in her chest. She knew what was coming. She had lived through every moment of what these cadets were about to see. Commander Al paused the recording and looked out at the assembled cadets. "Pay close attention," he said. "What you are about to witness is an unconventional warfare conducted by a single human soldier. Learn from it." The recording resumed and Lisa closed her eyes. She did not need to watch. She remembered everything. The holographic recording filled the lecture hall with chaos and destruction. Cadets watched as raiders breached the medical station's outer defenses and began pouring through the corridors. Bodies lay everywhere. Alarms screamed in the background. Smoke and fire made it difficult to see. The footage came from security cameras throughout the station, and the instructors had edited it together to show the full scope of the disaster. In the first 10 minutes of the attack, over 200 defenders had been killed. The remaining soldiers were scattered and disorganized. Then a woman appeared on the screen. She was young, probably in her early 20s. Her uniform was torn and covered in blood, some of it her own and some from the wounded she had been treating. Her dark hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and her face was streaked with dirt and sweat. But her eyes were sharp and focused, showing no panic despite the horror around her. The woman grabbed a communication device from a dead officer and began issuing orders. Her voice was calm and clear, cutting through the noise of battle like a blade through paper. "All surviving personnel," she said, "this is Sergeant Lisa Morgan assuming command of defensive operations. Fall back to the central medical ward and establish a perimeter around the children's section. I repeat, fall back to the children's section and prepare to hold." Danny sat up in his seat. Lisa Morgan. That was the name of his quiet classmate who sat in the back of every class and failed every simulation. He turned around to look at her, but she was staring at her hands and refusing to watch the screen. The recording continued. The woman who shared his classmate's name began organizing the survivors with remarkable efficiency. She assigned positions based on each person's skills and injuries. She created defensive barriers using medical equipment and broken furniture. She turned the children's ward into a fortress in less than 20 minutes. Commander Al paused the footage and addressed the cadets. "Notice her tactical decisions," he said. "She chose the children's ward not only because it contained the most vulnerable patients, but because it had only 2 entry points that could be defended with minimal personnel. She turned her greatest weakness into a strategic advantage. The footage resumed. Warriors reached the makeshift defenses and launched their first assault. The woman on screen moved like water, flowing from position to position, plugging gaps in the defense and supporting her exhausted soldiers. A twice her size broke through one of the barriers. The woman did not hesitate. She grabbed a medical laser designed for surgery and used it to blind the creature, then struck its throat with a broken piece of metal tubing. The fell, and she was already moving to the next threat before its body hit the ground. Several alien cadets in the lecture hall made sounds of surprise and disbelief. Humans were not supposed to be capable of such things. They were soft creatures from a gentle world, or so many aliens believed. The battle continued hour after hour. The recording showed time stamps that counted upward relentlessly. 2 hours became 4, 4 became 8, 8 became 12. The defenders grew more exhausted with each passing minute, but the woman at their center never stopped moving, never stopped thinking, never stopped fighting. During brief pauses in the assault, she treated wounded soldiers. She had medical training, and her hands moved with expert precision even while her body trembled with fatigue. She saved lives between firefights, stitching wounds and administering medications while keeping one eye on the defensive perimeter. Watched the screen with growing amazement. She had trained her entire life to be the best soldier she could be, but she had never imagined that a human could perform at this level. The woman in the recording was operating beyond anything thought possible. At the 14-hour mark, the defenders ran out of ammunition. Commander Al paused the footage again. "This is where most commanders would have surrendered," he said. They had no weapons, minimal medical supplies, and only 37 soldiers still capable of fighting. The forces numbered over 300. Any reasonable person would have accepted defeat. He resumed the playback. The woman on screen gathered her remaining soldiers and spoke to them quietly. The audio captured her words. "They expect us to give up," she said. "They think we are beaten because we have no bullets left. But bullets are not what make a soldier. Courage makes a soldier. Love makes a soldier. The children behind us are counting on us to be soldiers for just a few more hours. Can you do that? Can you be soldiers with me until help arrives?" The exhausted defenders answered yes. They picked up pieces of debris, broken equipment, anything that could be used as a weapon. They prepared to fight, though, with their bare hands if necessary. The final assault came at the 16-hour mark. Warriors charged the barricades, confident that victory was certain. What happened next became legendary throughout the coalition. The woman led her soldiers in a desperate defense that should have been impossible. She used every piece of her environment as a weapon. She triggered chemical reactions with medical supplies to create smoke and confusion. She collapsed ceiling panels onto advancing enemies. She turned the station's own systems against the invaders. Danny watched the screen with his mouth hanging open. The quiet woman who sat behind him in class, the one who failed every simulation and never stood out, was performing miracles on the recording. She was a completely different person, or perhaps she was finally being her true self. The fighting continued until the 18-hour mark, when coalition reinforcements finally arrived. They retreated, leaving behind hundreds of their own dead. The medical station still stood, damaged but not destroyed. The final image of the recording showed the woman sitting against a wall, surrounded by the soldiers she had led through hell. Her eyes were closed, and tears were streaming down her face. She was holding the hand of a young child who had come out of the protected ward to thank her. Commander Al let the image linger on the screen. "This woman," he said slowly, "saved 847 lives that day. She held an impossible position against impossible odds using nothing but her mind and her will. She is considered one of the greatest heroes in recent coalition history." He turned to face the cadets directly. His yellow eyes swept across the room until they stopped at the back corner where Lisa Morgan sat with her head bowed. "I believe that woman is sitting in this room right now," he said. "Cadet Morgan, please confirm for your fellow students whether you are the same person we just watched in this recording." Every head in the lecture hall turned toward the back corner. Lisa slowly raised her eyes and met the commander's gaze. "Yes," she said quietly, "that was me." The hall erupted in chaos. Cadets shouted questions and exclamations. Some stood up from their seats to get a better look at her. The instructors struggled to maintain order. Danny stared at Lisa with new eyes, finally understanding why she always seemed so distant, why she never cared about simulation scores, why she kept everyone at arm's length. She was not a failure hiding in the back of the classroom. She was a legend trying to be ordinary. Commander Al raised his hand, and the lecture hall slowly grew quiet. The cadets stopped shouting, but their eyes remained fixed on the woman in the back corner who had just confirmed herself as one of the most celebrated heroes in Coalition history. The commander turned back to the holographic display and resumed the recording. "There is more to see," he said. "The battle footage was only part of the story." The screen showed the aftermath of the siege. Medical teams from the relief fleet rushed through the station, treating the wounded and documenting the damage. A reporter appeared on screen, broadcasting live to Coalition news networks. The camera followed the reporter as she approached the exhausted sergeant who had led the defense. Lisa Morgan was sitting on a crate, trying to drink water with hands that would not stop shaking. Her face was hollow with exhaustion, and dark circles surrounded her eyes like bruises. "Sergeant Morgan," the reporter said, "the entire coalition is watching. Can you tell us how you managed to hold this station against such overwhelming odds?" The Lisa in the recording looked at the camera with empty eyes. She seemed to struggle for words. Finally, she spoke in a voice that was barely above a whisper. "I did not do anything special," she said. "I just refused to let those children die. That is all. Anyone would have done the same." The reporter pressed further. "But the tactical decisions you made were remarkable. Military experts are already calling your defense a work of genius. Where did you learn to fight like that?" Lisa in the recording shook her head slowly. "I do not know," she said. "I just saw what needed to be done and I did it. I was not thinking about tactics or strategy. I was thinking about the little girl in bed 7 who showed me pictures of her pet before the attack started. I was thinking about the boy in bed 12 who was scared of the dark. I just wanted them to live." The reporter tried to ask another question, but a medical officer stepped in and insisted that the sergeant needed rest. The footage cut to different scenes, showing the rescued patients being evacuated from the station. One segment focused on the children. There were 43 of them, ranging in age from infants to teenagers. They had been recovering from a plague that nearly wiped out their generation. If the station had fallen, the species would have lost nearly all of their young. An elder appeared on screen, tears streaming from his large dark eyes. "This human woman," he said, "has given our people a future. We owe her a debt that can never be repaid. Every child born from this day forward exists because of her courage." In the lecture hall, the cadet who sat near Danny was weeping openly. His soft blue skin had turned darker with emotion, and his hands were clasped together as if in prayer. He stood up from his seat and turned to face Lisa. "My sister was in that ward," he said. His voice trembled but carried across the silent hall. "Her name is—" She was 6 years old. She still talks about the human woman who came to check on her during the fighting, who told her stories to keep her calm when the explosions were shaking the walls. Lisa looked at him but said nothing. Her face was impossible to read. The cadet walked down the aisle toward the back of the hall. Every eye followed him. When he reached Lisa, he dropped to his knees and pressed his forehead to the floor in the deepest gesture of respect his culture knew. "Thank you," he said. "Thank you for my sister. Thank you for my people." Lisa reached down and gently touched his shoulder. "Please stand up," she said softly. "You do not need to kneel to me. I was just doing my job." The cadet rose but kept his eyes lowered in reverence. "Will want to know that I met you," he said. "She still has the picture you drew for her during the siege. It is the most precious thing she owns." For the first time since the recording began, emotion flickered across Lisa's face. Her eyes grew wet though no tears fell. "I remember," she said. "She was very brave." Commander Al cleared his throat. He seemed moved by the exchange, though he tried to hide it behind his stern expression. "The recording has concluded," he announced, "but I believe the class has questions for Cadet Morgan." The questions came flooding out. Cadets wanted to know everything. Why was she at the academy? Why had she hidden her identity? Why did she perform so poorly in simulations when she was clearly capable of so much more? Lisa stood up slowly and faced the crowd. She looked small and tired, nothing like the warrior from the recording. "After Prime," she began, "I became a symbol. People wanted to shake my hand and take pictures with me. They put my face on recruitment posters and named awards after me. But they did not see me. They saw what they wanted to see, a hero, a legend, something larger than human." She paused and took a breath. "I could not be a normal person anymore. Every time I entered a room, people expected miracles. Every time I made a mistake, people were disappointed. I was not allowed to be tired or sad or angry. I had to be the hero of Prime every moment of every day." Danny watched her speak and felt his heart breaking. He had spent weeks trying to befriend someone who just wanted to be left alone, someone who had earned the right to be ordinary. "I came to this academy under my real name because I wanted to learn," Lisa continued. "Not as a hero, but as a student. I wanted to sit in the back of the class and take notes and make mistakes without the whole galaxy watching. I wanted to remember what it felt like to be just another person." Stood up from her seat near the front. Her face showed a complicated mixture of emotions. "You deliberately failed simulations," she said. "You have been pretending to be weak this whole time." Lisa met her eyes calmly. "Yes," she admitted. "I failed on purpose. I missed shots I could have made. I made bad decisions that I knew were bad. Because if I performed at my real level, someone would have recognized me and my quiet life would have ended." A ripple of murmuring spread through the hall. Some cadets seemed impressed by her dedication to anonymity. Others looked troubled by her deception. Commander Al stepped forward. "I must apologize," he said. His voice was heavy with regret. "I criticized you publicly for your performance. I used you as an example of human weakness. I did not know who you truly were." Lisa shook her head. "You do not need to apologize," she said. "You were right to criticize poor performance. That is your job. I am the one who was dishonest." She looked around at all the faces staring at her. "I never wanted anyone to find out," she said. "I just wanted to be Lisa the mediocre student, not Lisa the hero. I wanted peace." Her voice cracked slightly on the last word. She straightened her shoulders and blinked hard. "I think I need to leave now," she said. "I need some time alone." She walked toward the exit without waiting for permission. The crowd parted before her like water around a stone. As she passed Danny, she glanced at him briefly. "I am sorry I was not honest with you," she said quietly. "You were kind to me and I pushed you away. That was not fair." Then she was gone, and the lecture hall sat in stunned silence, everyone trying to process what they had just learned about the quiet woman who had been sitting among them all along. The days following the revelation were difficult for everyone at the academy, but especially for Lisa. She could no longer walk through the corridors without people stopping to stare. Conversations died when she entered rooms. Some cadets treated her with awe, bowing their heads or stepping aside as if she were royalty. Others watched her with suspicious eyes, angry about the deception. Lisa retreated to her quarters and only came out for mandatory classes. She sat in her usual spot in the back, but now the seats around her remained empty. People were afraid to sit next to a legend. struggled the most with the new information. She had spent years training to be the best, pushing herself beyond her limits, sacrificing friendships and personal time to reach the top of every ranking. Now she learned that someone far more accomplished had been sitting behind her the whole time, deliberately losing. It felt like a cruel joke. Found herself unable to concentrate in classes. Her simulation scores dropped as her mind wandered to thoughts of the quiet woman who had made her entire career feel meaningless. One evening, waited outside the dining hall until Lisa appeared. She stepped into Lisa's path and forced her to stop. "I need to understand something," said. Her voice was tight with controlled emotion. "Why did you come here at all? You already proved yourself at Prime. You have nothing left to prove. Why put yourself through basic training like some fresh recruit?" Lisa studied her face for a moment before answering. "Because I am not finished learning," she said simply. "Prime taught me that I have gaps in my knowledge. I improvised during that siege because I had no proper training. People call it genius, but I call it desperation. I came here to fill in those gaps to become better." Shook her head in disbelief. "You saved almost 1,000 lives with no formal training, and you think you need to improve." Lisa's expression grew sad. "I also lost over 200 lives in the first 10 minutes," she said quietly. "I was a medic when the attack started. I was not supposed to be in command. By the time I took control, so many people had already died. If I had been better trained, maybe I could have saved them too." The words hit like a punch to the stomach. She had never considered that perspective. In her mind, Lisa was untouchable, perfect, a natural warrior who emerged fully formed. She had not thought about the guilt that must come with survival, the weight of wondering what could have been done differently. "I am sorry," said finally. "I was jealous of you. I thought you were making a mockery of everything I worked for. I did not think about what you went through." Lisa offered a small smile. "You have nothing to apologize for. Your hard work matters. Your achievements are real. My past does not diminish what you have accomplished." The two women stood in silence for a moment, something shifting between them, then nodded and stepped aside, allowing Lisa to continue toward the dining hall. Later that week, Commander Al requested a private meeting with Lisa. She reported to his office expecting more questions about her deception, but what she found was something entirely different. The commander sat behind his desk with his hands folded. His yellow eyes were softer than she had ever seen them. "Please sit," he said. Lisa took the offered chair and waited. Commander Al was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke. "I had a son," he said. "His name was Al. He was a soldier stationed on Prime when they attacked." Lisa felt her chest tighten. She remembered the soldiers who had fought beside her. She remembered their fierce courage and their willingness to follow a human commander without question. Al was part of the outer defense perimeter, the commander continued. His unit was overrun in the first wave of the attack. He did not survive. "I am sorry," Lisa whispered. The words felt inadequate, but they were all she had. Commander Al held up his hand. "Let me finish," he said. Before he died, Al sent a final message to his unit. He told them to fall back to the medical ward and protect the children. He said a human sergeant had taken command and was organizing a defense. He said they should trust her. The commander's voice grew thick with emotion. "My son died believing that his sacrifice would mean something. He died knowing that someone would protect what he could not. You were that someone. You gave his death meaning." Lisa could not speak. Tears spilled down her cheeks as the weight of his words settled over her. "I criticized you in front of the entire class," the commander said. "I mocked you for being weak. And the whole time, you were the woman who honored my son's final wish. I cannot tell you how deeply ashamed I am." Lisa wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "Your son was brave," she said. "All the soldiers were brave. They taught me that courage has no species. I would not have survived without them." Commander Al nodded slowly. Then he pulled a small object from his desk drawer and placed it in front of Lisa. It was a military medal, ancient and worn. "This belonged to Al," he said. "It was passed down through 6 generations of our family. I want you to have it." Lisa stared at the medal. "I cannot accept this," she said. "It belongs to your family." "You are family now," the commander replied. "Every who learns what you did for our soldiers will consider you one of us. This medal will remind you that you are never alone." Lisa took the medal with trembling hands. She had received many awards since Prime, but none had ever meant as much as this simple piece of metal given by a grieving father. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent alert that blared through the station speakers. All senior staff were ordered to the command center immediately. Something was happening. Commander Al rose quickly and motioned for Lisa to follow him. They hurried through the corridors to find the command center in chaos. Officers were shouting coordinates and threat assessments while screens displayed incoming sensor data. "What is happening?" the commander demanded. A young officer turned with fear in his eyes. "Warships, sir. A fleet of 12 vessels just dropped out of hyperspace. They are heading directly for the station." Commander Al's scales darkened with anger. "Do they have demands?" The officer swallowed hard. "Yes, sir. They are broadcasting on all channels. They say they want the human who humiliated them at Prime. They want Lisa Morgan or they will destroy the entire station." Every eye in the room turned to Lisa. She stood frozen, her face pale, the medal still clutched in her hand. They had found her. Her peaceful life at the academy was over. "I will surrender," she said quietly. "I will not let anyone else die because of me." Commander Al grabbed her arm firmly. "No," he said. "You will not. We do not abandon our own." Lisa looked at him with desperate eyes. "If I do not go to them, they will kill everyone on this station. Thousands of innocent people. I cannot have that on my conscience." Danny appeared in the doorway, out of breath from running. He must have heard the announcement and come immediately. "Lisa," he gasped, "you cannot give yourself up. There has to be another way." The cadet pushed past Danny and entered the room. His blue face was set with determination. "The one who saved my sister will not sacrifice herself alone," he declared. "My people owe her a debt. We will fight." More cadets began appearing behind them. Humans and aliens, species that had considered each other rivals just days before, now standing together. They had all seen the recording. They all knew what Lisa Morgan was capable of, and they all refused to let her face the alone. Lisa looked at the growing crowd and felt something shift inside her. For 7 years she had been running from who she was, hiding her strength, pretending to be ordinary. But ordinary people did not have friends like these, people willing to risk everything to stand beside her. Maybe it was time to stop hiding. The fleet hung in space like a gathering storm, their dark angular ships blocking the stars behind them. Their commander broadcast another message, his growling voice echoing through every speaker on Station 7. "You have 1 hour to deliver the human called Lisa Morgan. If she does not come to us, we will reduce your academy to ash. Every student, every teacher, every creature on that station will burn. The choice is yours." Lisa stood in the command center surrounded by cadets who refused to let her leave. Their determination was touching, but she knew it could also get them all killed. She had to make them understand. "Please listen to me," she said. "They will not show mercy just because you resist. They remember Prime as their greatest shame. They have spent 7 years hunting for me. If I go to them, maybe they will spare the rest of you." Commander Al stepped forward. "Do you truly believe that?" he asked. "Do you think creatures who travel across the galaxy for revenge will simply leave after claiming you? They will destroy this station whether you surrender or not. Your death would accomplish nothing." Lisa hesitated. The commander was right. They were not known for keeping their word. They operated on pride and violence, not honor. Danny pushed through the crowd to stand beside her. "You taught me something," he said. "When I watched that recording, I learned that one person can make an impossible difference. But you were alone at Prime. You do not have to be alone this time." The cadet raised his voice. "I have spoken with my people on the station. Every adult has volunteered to fight. We are not warriors by nature, but we will become warriors for you." A cadet near the door straightened his posture. "My species respects strength above all things. We have seen your strength, Lisa Morgan. Fighting beside you would bring honor to our families." One by one, representatives from different species spoke up. Humans, and others whose names Lisa had never learned. They had been strangers a week ago, rivals in competition for rankings and recognition. Now they were united by something stronger than ambition. Commander Al addressed the room. "The Academy has voted," he announced. "Every single cadet and instructor has chosen to stand with Lisa Morgan. We will not surrender her to the... We will fight." Lisa felt tears threatening to fall again, but she pushed them back. There would be time for emotion later. Right now, people were counting on her to be what they believed she was. "Then we need a plan," she said. Her voice changed, becoming harder and more commanding. The woman from the recording was emerging from behind the mask she had worn for so long. "Tell me about our defenses." The next 30 minutes became a whirlwind of activity. Lisa studied the station's layout, its weapon systems, its shields, and its vulnerabilities. She asked questions that the instructors had never considered and proposed tactics that seemed impossible until she explained them. "The station cannot win a direct battle against 12 warships," she admitted. "But we do not need to win. We need to survive long enough for coalition reinforcements to arrive. Commander, how long until help can reach us?" Al checked his data pad. 3 hours minimum, he said. "The nearest fleet is on patrol near the system." Lisa nodded slowly. "Then we hold for 3 hours. It will not be easy, but it can be done." She turned to the gathered cadets. "I need teams assigned to specific tasks. You have the highest technical scores in the class. I need you managing our shield distribution. Danny, your tactical simulation scores were better than mine. Take command of the secondary weapons array." Stepped forward with surprise on her face. "You want me to manage shields? That is one of the most critical positions." Lisa met her eyes. "You earned your place at the top of this academy through hard work and dedication. I trust your skills. Do you trust yourself?" Something changed in its expression. "Yes," she said firmly, "I do." The cadet teams scattered to their assigned positions. Lisa remained in the command center with Commander Al, watching the fleet through the sensor displays. The hour deadline passed. The lead ship fired a warning shot that grazed the station's outer shields. Then the full assault began. 12 warships opened fire simultaneously. The station shuddered under the impact as shields flared and alarms screamed. Lisa stood calmly at the tactical display, her eyes tracking multiple targets at once. "Redirect 30% of shield power to Sector 7, she ordered. "They are focusing fire there to create a breach point." His voice came back through the communication system, already working. "On it. Shields redistributing now." "Danny, target the lead ship's weapon ports," Lisa continued. "Do not try to destroy them, just disrupt their targeting systems. Make them waste shots." The battle raged on. Lisa coordinated the defense with the same impossible efficiency she had shown at Prime. She anticipated tactics before they happened. She found weaknesses in their formation that experienced commanders would have missed. She turned every disadvantage into an opportunity. 1 hour passed, then 2. The station was battered but still standing. Several cadets had been injured when a hull breach occurred in a lower section, but the damage was contained. Then the war leader himself demanded a direct channel. His face appeared on the main screen, fury burning in his yellow eyes. "Lisa Morgan," he growled, "I remember you. I was at Prime. You killed my warriors. You made my people look weak. Now I will have my revenge." Lisa stepped forward to face the screen. She stood straight and tall, no longer hiding anything. "I remember you too," she said calmly. "You ran away when the Coalition fleet arrived. Your warriors died because of your pride, not my actions. You want someone to blame for your failure. Look in a mirror." The war leader roared with rage. He ordered his ships to increase their assault. But Lisa had anticipated this too. She had kept certain weapons in reserve specifically to exploit his anger. Now she said quietly, "Hidden weapon platforms activated across the station's surface." Concentrated fire struck the war leader's ship at precisely calculated points, disabling its engines and leaving it drifting helplessly. The fleet fell into chaos. Without their leader's commands, they lost coordination. Some ships tried to rescue him. Others continued attacking the station. Several collided with each other in the confusion. 30 minutes later, Coalition reinforcements dropped out of hyperspace. The sight of 20 warships bearing down on them broke whatever courage they had left. They retreated into hyperspace, abandoning their crippled leader. The war leader was captured and taken into Coalition custody. His dreams of revenge ended in chains and humiliation. When the battle was over, Lisa stood on the observation deck and watched the Coalition ships establish a protective perimeter around the damaged station. Danny found her there, staring out at the stars. "You did it again," he said softly. "You saved everyone." Lisa shook her head. "We did it," she corrected, "all of us together. I could not have held this station alone. None of us could have. That is what makes us strong." Danny stood beside her in comfortable silence. After a while he spoke again. "What will you do now? You cannot hide anymore. Everyone knows who you are." Lisa considered the question. "I spent 7 years running from myself," she said finally. "I thought being ordinary would give me peace. But I was wrong. Peace does not come from hiding who you are. It comes from accepting yourself, all of yourself, even the parts that scare you." She turned to face him with a small smile. "I think I will stay at the academy and finish my training. Not as an anonymous student this time, but as myself. And maybe I can teach some classes about unconventional tactics. I seem to have experience with those." A month later, Lisa stood at the front of a lecture hall filled with cadets. The same hall where her secret had been revealed. But now she was the instructor, not the student hiding in the back. Someone raised a hand and asked how she had learned to fight the way she did. How she had become capable of the impossible things shown in the recording. Lisa thought for a moment before answering. "I learned that hiding who you are does not protect anyone," she said. "It only delays the moment when you must decide what kind of person you want to be. When that moment comes, and it will come for all of you, I hope you choose to stand tall. Because the universe needs people who are willing to be seen, willing to be known, willing to shine." She looked out at the diverse faces watching her with respect and admiration. Humans and aliens, former rivals now united by shared experience. "Never be ashamed of your strength," she concluded. "Use it to protect those who need protection. Use it to lift up those who cannot lift themselves. That is what strength is for." The class ended with applause. Lisa smiled, finally at peace with who she was and who she had become. The woman who had hidden her strength in class was gone. In her place stood someone ready to teach the next generation of heroes that true courage means letting yourself be seen.